Hey everyone, we're going to talk about a topic that we talk about a lot. And the reason we talk about it a lot is because I think it can apply to everyone, all over the world, all over the country, all ages. So, what I wanted to talk about today is alcohol and how people cope with alcohol.
Mhm.
So, it's not really, I'm not judging anyone. I really just want to talk about it because I think it's a discussion that needs to be had often. Um, so Cassie's here with me. We're going to talk again, just candidly about our own lives, about what we see with our patients, what we see with our friends, our family. So alcohol is one of those things that it's legal.
Mhm.
What you have to be 21 in this country, 18 in outside countries, to be able to drink. Um, I think the
In some
United
countries, it's 18 to purchase.
oh,
There is
18 to
no
purchase.
consumption age, which is even
Oh,
crazier
okay.
to me. But
Yeah. So, I mean, here it's 21. And I can understand why that rule was put in place because your judgment does get somewhat, messed up on it, I would
hmm
say, right?
hmm
Um, Alcohol, it can really be a good or bad thing. So, uh, people will enjoy different types of alcohol as more of like a hobby.
hmm
They'll drink in a social setting. They'll drink to cope, and then they'll drink to excess. So,
celebrations, depressions,
all
it,
kinds of things.
all the
Happy,
things.
sad.
Happy, sad, all the things. Yeah.
So I find, and I've been talking about this a lot lately, but, going through my divorce and going through my separation, I honestly, in all the years that you've known me, Cassie, did not drink,
No, you weren't anti-alcohol. You just didn't.
I didn't drink. I would be with you. I would sit with you. I wouldn't drink.
I did drink.
Yeah.
I, s-
And Cassie enjoys a beverage.
I like a beverage.
So, and there's nothing wrong in that. And actually, I would kind of be jealous of everyone because they'd be like reveling and like laughing and joking. And I just never really wanted to. And it was a little bit because of how I grew up. And I was kind of, alcohol was just something that, in my house was more of a, I don't know, like a taboo. Like my dad wasn't supposed to drink. My mom was after my dad for drinking. It was just kind of like, don't drink, don't drink, don't drink. And so it wasn't even told to me that I shouldn't drink, but I just picked it up, right? So I went to college at University of Miami, huge party school. And everyone thought I was drunk all the time because I am like a
You're
happy-go-lucky
high on life.
person. I was high on life. I was
Yeah.
always happy, laughing all the time, giggling. I'm a giggler. And so people just thought I was natural. I was just like naturally okay. I didn't really need it. I don't even know if I had anxiety back then. But going through this divorce and I think over the years, like we'd go out and I'd maybe have a drink, right?
Um,
How would I drink?
she'd get a glass of wine or a cocktail, and she would drink maybe 1/8 of it.
Yes, because I didn't like the taste of it,
And you
but I wanted
were
to feel like everyone
the
else.
biggest lightweight in the world. So she would just be giggling, and we were
Yes.
like, okay, we're gonna take that
Yeah,
from
no,
you.
literally no.
Because
Yeah.
she just can't drink. Like, you just can't drink.
Yeah, and Indian people in general don't have the enzyme that breaks down alcohol, so we tend to get drunk a lot quicker and we can get alcohol poisoning a lot
Do you remember the
quicker.
whole breathalyzer thing?
Oh yeah, I did a breathalyzer on myself. I literally drank like 2 ounces of a
2 ounces
glass.
of wine. I had two glasses,
And what
and
was mine?
yours
I was
was
like point 0.6, point
you were
zero
like
0.06.
double
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
And I had two. I mean, I don't know what this says about me, but I had two glasses of wine. You had maybe 2 ounces,
Yeah. So I mean your
and you
body's
blew double what I
yes.
blew
So I can be over the legal limit very
instantly.
quickly. And so I actually have never driven after
Mm-mm.
drinking a glass or a drip of alcohol. Like
Nope.
a drip of alcohol, I don't drive. So, over the last 10 years or so, I'd probably have a drink here and there. And the last couple of years, I would say I've drank more than that. And it was because, I did want to like kind of relax a little bit. And so I found that I started to cope with it. When I was going through this divorce, I found like, you know what? I just want a glass of wine. And I don't really like wine. So, it wasn't really, I just wanted to feel
Well,
free.
it's a depressant, so it calms you down in the moment. It relaxes you. You kind of feel that fuzzy and you're just like,
I just wanted to feel free,
right.
to be honest, free of my pain,
And
you
you do
know?
for about an hour.
Yeah. No, but I mean, like, then everyone else is laughing and joking and having a good time. And I wanted to laugh and joke and have a good time and not be stressed all the time. So I found that I started to say, you know what? I would like a glass of wine, or I would like a margarita, or whatever it is, you know? And even nowadays, I find that I think about it way more than I used to think about it. And, I have a genetic tendency to have an alcoholic, my dad
You
drank,
have
and,
family history. Yeah.
family history. So I am very, very wary of that. But anyways, so I've been noticing, and that was just me, right? So I'm noticing, wow, I'm thinking about alcohol more than I've ever thought about alcohol. I keep thinking in my mind, like, what if I just had a glass of wine right now? Maybe I'd feel better, you know? And I know that you've reduced how much you're drinking now, but in the past, you used to drink every night when you'd go
Every
home.
night.
And how much would you drink?
Glass, 2 glasses, 3 glasses, 4 glasses,
Yeah, I mean,
depending on the night.
and and do you feel like you did that because you'd get home and you need to wind down, or what was the deal?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was for me to one, I really love the taste. So let's just,
Okay.
be
Yeah.
honest there. But I'm a red wine girl
Mhm.
and I felt like I could come home. There's not as much taboo
Mhm.
to me on wine than there is
Right. Well,
liquor. So that
most women, I feel like a lot of women will be cooking dinner and have a glass
you
of
have a glass of
wine.
wine, you cook, you pour some in your pasta sauce, you
Yeah.
just kind of,
Yeah.
go. And so it started that way, just have one and the kids would be little. I'd have one like maybe while I was cooking dinner or even right after they went to bed, watch a show, go to bed. It was no big deal. But then as, marital stress increases,
Mhm.
stress having teenagers, because
Ugh.
that's a whole nother
I
topic.
think
We
that's
could talk about that all
honestly,
day long.
I think that's a big factor. Like yesterday, I got home from work. I drove my daughter to Chapel Hill, which is like about 45 minutes away in traffic, so she could see her friend. Drove back from Chapel Hill, and the girl would not talk to
And
me.
then treat you like shit.
Total shit.
Yeah.
I mean, that will make a mom want to drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so I think for you, and I'm just speaking
And then
for
it would
you.
just, to go back. So I would have one. And then, then it would be like, oh, I can have two. But I was not hungover. I was not anything the next day. But then it would take two to get me that same relaxed feeling.
Feeling,
And then
yes.
it would be three
I
to get
know.
me that same relaxed
It's
feeling.
easy to
And
go.
then when
Yeah.
I go to dump out my recycling and I see 5 empty wine bottles from the week in the trash can, I'm like,
What's
wow, like,
happening? Yeah.
what's happening? Right?
Yeah.
So
It's a wake up call,
it is a wake
definitely.
up
Yeah.
call. And so, we had just recently heard from somebody, what was it? What's it called? Something sobriety.
Sober curious?
Yeah, sober
Hmm.
curious. Yeah. That's a thing now. And I don't know if that's what I'm going through. Like right now, I'm 100% not sober. I don't want to say that.
But you're
But I used to have
curious?
I am
Yeah,
curious
yeah.
because, slowly, I think especially when I was going through the divorce and big upheaval with, I'm dating somebody
Life
new
change,
and
yeah.
that has caused a lot of stress, not from that person, but from family and
Yeah,
everybody's
yeah.
just not used to me being with somebody different, right? So that increased my alcohol. I definitely like to drink when I'm celebrating. I drink when I'm sad. And it started to get to the point where, okay, I'm drinking a lot.
I think it's like running away. It's a different
It
form of
is.
running
It
away.
is
Because
absolutely
you
running away.
drink and then you're like, I don't really
And
care,
like
you know?
I have an avoidant personality type
Mhm.
or personality style. And so I'm an avoider. And so if I'm drinking, I can use that as an excuse to not have a conversation because I've been drinking.
Yes, and for me, I'm an anxious personality, or anxious, so if I want to drink, it's so I can breathe.
Right. But
That's
then you have the
horrible.
rebound anxiety from it
Yeah.
it coming wearing
I
off.
think that alcohol has become a lot of our coping skills. I mean, it's like our legal coping skill. Like it's
And it's the
legal.
strangest thing because people are totally fine to go out in public and drink in bars and act a fool and have a good time. But when we sit down to discuss it,
I don't have a problem. And I get it. Yeah.
I feel like I'm literally telling people that I drink 3 glasses of wine a day. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's that guilt there, but there's bars and stores on every single corner where it's sold and it's legal and it's okay. Thankfully, I don't anymore. I would die. We're just too busy.
Mhm.
But I will still have one after work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And on the weekends we have a couple. We really enjoy camping,
Mhm.
so we'll go camping and have some wine then. But it's been a minute since I was drunk,
Mhm.
and I can't say that a year ago.
Well, I would say that in the last year for me, that's changed as well because I think I was running away from my problems the year before, and I think I would want to have a girls' night a lot more than I necessarily need them now.
Right.
But I needed them because I was running away from
We had lots
my,
of girls'
yeah,
nights,
and it was, I think it
girls'
was,
weekends, girls' nights, girls' trips. We were running.
we were running away from our problems at home, and so then drinking is a part of that, right?
Right.
It lets you be loose, and you can't be loose,
Not loose.
not like loose like that, but
Just
like
kidding.
loose like as in
Relaxed and
free,
just,
relaxed, and like you can
yeah, feel like you
joke
can be
and you can
yourself.
laugh
And
and you can find yourself again almost. But I've noticed more and more that people I know, patients, not even just patients, like friends, family, I see them relying on alcohol too. And it really concerns me because I think it's really honestly self-medicating.
absolutely.
And it is something that 100% we all need to be aware of.
And even like you said earlier, you found yourself thinking about it. Like,
I
I
never
still think
thought,
about it. I think about it a lot, like way more than I like to admit.
I
Like, I
never,
think about
ever,
it.
ever, ever thought about alcohol, ever. And in the last couple of, I would say this year especially, I think about it way more. And
But you're drinking way less.
I don't even drink. Like, to be honest, I don't drink
Just
because
that one year when we had our girls' trips and stuff. But when I say drinking for you, I mean you completed one margarita.
no, I yeah,
So it's not
no,
like you
it's
were
true.
ever like,
Absolutely. Like a
off your rocker
bottle
or
of
anything
wine
like,
will last me a month. But
right.
but but even that scares me that
Yeah.
even the two sips that I would crave, I don't want to crave it. I don't
Right.
want to like
It's
I
that
think
loss of control feeling.
well, and I think that's the thing. It's like when it becomes something that you have to be able to relax, it's somewhere you need to start questioning
So
yourself.
what is it that you do to replace that?
So that's where
Because I love the exercise. Okay, I'll
yeah.
exercise. I'm not exercising.
No,
I'm
in
going to
the
be quite
past,
frank.
no.
You will never see if I am running,
Mhm.
I'm being chased.
No, in the
I
past, I would say I did exercise. That was my thing. I used to go, I did marathons, half marathon,
you
not, I
did.
didn't do a full marathon, half marathon.
You had a trainer come.
I had trainers
We
and
used to do Zumba.
we did Zumba, and I
Like I
was
thought I was
really
dying.
into exercising. It was super, like, it was my stress reliever. And I would say now I don't feel like doing that as much. I don't know why. Maybe it's like partly depression or whatever, but I go on walks, So lately I've been going on walks. That's really helped my anxiety because it's a kind of a form of meditation. But, you know, the main thing I kind of want to get across here is that if you find yourself thinking about it, there's something to talk about,
Yeah.
right?
No, absolutely.
If
It's
you,
embarrassing.
well, it's not
It
even,
shouldn't be, but it
yes,
is.
I think people get embarrassed. I have lots of patients who come in and they're horribly embarrassed, or their family brings them in because there's a problem. I think it's super important for you to start looking at yourself. Like, forget anyone else and anyone else's theories about you, but it's like, what internally are you starting to struggle? Yes.
But yeah, I think with that, like for me too, it's wine has kind of been part of like my identity. Like every holiday, people get me wine related something.
Mhm.
Um, I get sent the funny wine memes. I
I mean,
get
I definitely think that when I think of Cassie, I think of wine. I do.
so
And
terrible.
I do think that I know that your evenings and maybe it's not like that anymore, but your evenings involve a glass of red wine.
So it used to, and that,
Mhm.
especially before I had Emma, because my kids were big, they didn't need me anymore.
Yeah.
Essentially,
Yeah.
they were doing their own thing, and I just had time to fill.
Yeah.
And you know, my ex-husband and I really didn't
Talk that
talk
much
all
or
that much.
anything.
So
Yeah.
he would be in one room watching football, I'd be in the other room watching whatever I was watching or playing on my
And he
phone,
was drinking beer
and he was drinking
probably,
beer,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I would have a glass of wine or
Mhm.
two.
No, it's a
Um,
culture. Like it's an
yeah,
American
it
culture
just
thing too.
became
Yeah.
the norm for both of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
And now that I have Emma, at least she fills my time. So
Yeah.
I come home and we're like, okay, let's do a bath, and we just put together the princess Lego castle, and
Yeah.
she's busy and needs to be entertained. So that has taken my
up that
time. And then
time.
by the time I sit down and realize, oh, I want a glass of wine, it's 10. And I'm like, I'm not going to have a glass of wine at 10.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go to bed. So then I go to bed and then I wake up and I do it again. So I think it happened by happenstance. Do you know what I mean? Not actual like choice.
But I do think the one glass becomes 2 glasses and 2 glasses becomes
Absolutely.
3 glasses and then it's a bottle
Yes. And then it's a bottle every day.
every day. And so,
And you wake up the next day and you're like a
yeah,
little
and
shaky.
let me tell you, there's no judgment. This discussion is so that you can have a discussion. Like,
Right.
so if you feel like that's what's happening, like, don't feel like you're alone. It's very normal to get there.
And there was a time that I met the criteria for, the DSM diagnosis for alcoholism, 100%.
Yeah.
If I did the audit, which is one of the questionnaires, or the CAGE, which is like a 4-question, it would have been positive.
Yeah.
Thankfully I'm not in that place now. But then I always felt it was even more taboo because we work in substance.
Right.
And I'm preaching one thing during the day and doing something completely different when I get home. And so that
Well, and I think just because we work in substance, we don't have to be sober. Like, you have to be, it's just because you're helping people with problems with alcohol or drugs doesn't mean that you have to be sober. Do you have, I think that actually,
I just needed to look inward as
yeah,
well.
I think that you have to look inward and say, hey, am I thinking about this too much? Is it taking up too much of my time? Am I not functioning as well as I should because of it? Then it's a discussion. And I think if you have that, I think if you drink, period, if you use substances of any kind that are not prescribed to you, you need to just kind of always do a review. You know what I mean? Like, do a review. Hey, is
Is
this
it
within
affecting your
reason?
life?
Yeah, is this within reason?
Yeah.
Am I thinking about this way too much? If
Right.
I'm thinking about like, oh my God, can I get that glass of wine tonight? Like, I can't wait. Why are you so desperate for it?
Right.
Right. So I think it's just having that discussion with yourself and evaluating every few months, like kind of evaluating where you are and even giving yourself some sober days. Like, you know what? I'm not going to drink for 3 days. Or I'm not going to drink for 4 days.
What is that, like dry January and there's
Yeah. And people do it in January, but I think like instead of doing a whole month, if that's too much, like do a week.
yeah,
You know
I
what
only drink
mean?
on Friday and Saturday, or
Yeah.
something along those lines for yourself. That's
Yeah, and you don't even have to make a hard fast rule, but give yourself a few days of sobriety, challenge yourself, because I think that will, like, there are some people who should not quit alcohol. They
can
need to
harm you.
be detoxed.
Detoxed, yeah.
And so, definitely talk to your medical provider before you go on a cold turkey journey.
Have seizures.
You
It
could
can
have
be
a
very dangerous.
seizure, you
Yeah.
could end up in the hospital. So, when you're ready to quit, discuss it with a medical professional so you can make sure you meet criteria. But if you're drinking a glass of wine here and there, I mean, skip it for 2 days, just
Yeah.
see how you do. And so that's the main thing. I think anything you do, you should do in moderation, right?
Yes.
Even exercise can become an addiction.
Anything can become an addiction.
Anything can
Have you seen
become
that
an
show where
addiction.
they like eat couches and stuff? Like people,
Eat couches.
haven't seen that?
No.
It's like, I think it's called My Strange Addiction.
Oh, wow.
And there's this one girl that eats couch cushions. I don't really
No,
know.
like I have an
It's
issue at
pica,
night.
obviously,
I like
but
I get the munchies, and I have to have chips
jalapeno
on the
chips.
side of my bed, and it's not okay, but I do it. I see that it's an addiction, and I need to calm it down. But that everyone has their thing. Everyone has their coping skill. Everyone has their thing. Just monitor yourself.
Yeah.
If you find yourself obsessing over something, it's probably not good.
So like check yourself before you wreck yourself.
I like that. Check
Yeah.
yourself before you wreck yourself. That's exactly
Such a
who
dork.
was that? Like, who was that? It was like
Fool. I don't know. I think it was a rapper.
rapper.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know which one.
But anyways,
We'll
I
have to put that
think
in
that
quotes.
the main thing is it's just being able to open up this discussion. I
Yeah.
think all of our podcasts are so you can start opening up discussions, and realize you're not alone. I mean, each one of us has issues by far. And just because someone is in a different role doesn't make it like I think people think that like I'm above that or you're above that. No, we're not. We're very much
No.
in it with you. So, open up the discussion with your providers, open up that discussion with your family. Like, check in with your family. I think have this discussion with your kids. Like, hey, look, you may not be drinking now, but at some point you're going to start drinking. And if you find that you need to you need to have it, there's something
Or you're
wrong.
thinking about it all the time. And
Exactly.
there are, I mean, there's measures and like questionnaires and things that you can even pull up online that are free. Like the audit is one, AUDIT.
Hmm.
There's the
The cage is like a quick,
cage. It's like a four
it's
question.
easy. And it's,
The cage is good. I think it's essentially, do you
does,
drink
no, do you need to cut down? Does anyone ever tell
till
you you
you need
need
to
to
cut?
cut
Yeah.
down?
Or do you
Is
ever feel
anyone,
guilty by your
is
drinking?
anyone annoyed by your drinking?
And do you
Need an eye
drink first thing in the
opener.
morning
Yeah. Hmm.
to feel better?
Yeah.
And so I think it's even one answered yes. It's you
And
should
we'll,
probably talk to somebody.
yeah, it's just one. So it doesn't, it just says wake up. Like wake up. That's all.
Hmm.
It's an alert. So I think what we'll do is we'll put the cage questions on the comments. So you'll be able to kind of just have that. It's, like we said, it's, has anyone asked you to cut down, or do you believe you should cut down? Um, is anyone annoyed with your drinking?
Do you feel guilty?
Do you feel guilty? And then last, do you need an eye opener, or do you drink in the morning first thing when you get up? These are, if you have one of the positive, then that you've screened positive, and it's something to start
A
thinking
discussion.
about. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't mean that you are an alcoholic. It doesn't mean, it means, hey, let's have a discussion, And so this could apply to you, your family, your kids, your grandparents, whatever.
Hmm.
But we are here for you. If you need anything, you can come to Gupta Psychiatry, but, you can just go to your primary care. I mean, everyone wants to talk about this. Everyone wants to help you.
Therapist.
I mean, yes, exactly. And no one's above this. There's no judgment. And if there is judgment, find
Mm-mm.
someone else, because
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, you
Yeah.
should not be judged. This
Mm-mm.
is this is a real world issue, and we're here for you. Thank you.
Yeah.